Good morning, and thanks for coming to my podcast. As you know,
Yeah.
I'm Amanda DiVito-Parle, and this is At the Kitchen Table, where we guide, inspire, and connect entrepreneurs and like-minded people to mastermind and just kick stuff around and have a great time. So I'd like to welcome my 30 under 30 friend, James Nellis from eXp Real Estate, running the Nellis Group in the DMV, the greater DC metro area, which is why he joins us from Zoom today. So welcome, James.
Love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I even put up my kitchen background because you said we're at the kitchen table.
Oh,
How
it's
about
perfect.
that? This is actually a kitchen we designed in one of our flip projects in Mount Pleasant in Washington, D.C.
It's absolutely stunning. I love the white and the white oak, the white cabinets with the white oak.
Yeah, I was a little worried about the gold, but it came out great. So
How long do you think the white oak cabinet sticks around this time?
Ooh, well, see, that means you've been selling for a long time because everything's in the cycles and seasons, right? Although wallpaper, I feel like it's trying too hard right now. So we'll see if it lands or not. But the accent walls always play. As far as this look, I think it's here for another 2 years to stay. You know, right now everybody's pushing towards grays and whites. So we're here for another two.
I'm tired of gray. Tell me a little, just back up. Tell me a little about yourself, where you come from, who you are. Help our listeners understand your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So grew up, I'm actually third generation. How crazy is that? Third generation real estate. My great grandfather in Kentucky was on a farm, and people would actually pay their notes and do real estate at his farm. They would actually bring payments it's crazy when you think of it that way.
Do you know what year that was?
What's that?
What year was that?
Oh gosh, I don't even, that would have been in the early 1900s. Yeah, because my grandfather was born during the Depression. So yeah, it had to be late 1800s, early 1900s. Fast forward, my mother got into real estate. My father was a military pilot. That's why we ended up in, of course, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and started her business there in the 80s. And just like you, I joined the family business, kicking and screaming, wanted nothing to do with it. And was a psychology religion double major, actually. Had no desire to go into real estate. And neither did my sister, who also was in our real estate family business, who was a parole officer. So like we ran as far away from the real estate world as we could. And then just like a magnet force, it brings you back. And so thankful for that. And I've been running the company since the early 2000s, and it's been a fun run.
So what I would describe as a big real estate team. Tell me how your team's structured, and how did you make the decision to scale to such a big team?
I'll tell you an interesting trend I'm seeing, Amanda, right now is that people that have scaled much bigger than myself over the last 5 years have scaled back and brought it back. I know some people that they've literally gotten rid of everyone, and it's just them and one other person.
Oh, I want to talk about this. I have a theory about this. It's called the queen bee with the honeybees.
Okay. To me, it's kind of, I liken it to the real estate market, you know, the contraction and expansion, like when prices are crazy and you can't find anything, people go further and further away from DC Metro.
Yeah.
And then when things slow down, they come back, they contract back to the city. And of course, we're seeing some of that because telecommuting is gone, but, or leaving our area at least. And so it's been fun to see the contraction, expansion. Same with businesses, right? And I would even be vulnerable and say some of it's ego-based, right? So we get doing so much of this and then we're like, well, bigger is always better. And I want to have the highest volume. I want to have this, this, and this. Well, when you look at the numbers, a lot of those big teams, they're not making any money.
What do you consider a big team?
25 plus, I would consider a big team, although that's probably bigger than some brokerages. But yeah, 25 people plus, I would consider big. I would say the average team, quote unquote, size I see is somewhere between 3 to 10 people, right? That's, I would say, is average. Right now.
What do you think is the ideal team?
What's the ideal? I think it depends on the flexibility that you want as an entrepreneur. Like I know people that are crazy successful and they are still the primary listing agent because they love it so much. And so what I like to say is get good enough and earn enough that you can follow whatever your passion is. For some people, they love the hunt. They love being in front of the client. Other people, they want to scale so they never have to see another linen closet. Like, it doesn't matter what you want to have out of it. Just understand that your passion is going to be different than other people. I love the idea of mentoring, coaching, and training. And so for me, scaling is giving other people opportunities, because I've had a lot of people say, well, you could just do that yourself. You could just do that. Yeah, I could. I could have less leverage and make more money. Absolutely. But part of my passion is to create careers for other people and a constant pursuit of bringing the right people into the company, which also is followed up with what's a natural attrition, right? So another question, maybe you've had this question already in your podcast, is what's the natural life cycle of a top agent that's recruited into a team? Brokerage is different, right? Because you can scale brokerages differently. And frankly, brokerages don't make any money.
Well, I long have been saying brokerage is broke.
Yeah. So they're already on like a 95-5 split, or they're basically paying agents to be there. So I wouldn't liken that. But if you're looking at teams, right, where teams might take a 50% or greater or some percentage, then the typical lifespan I've personally seen is anywhere from 3 to 7 years for how long that person probably stays with the company.
Yeah.
Unless they've built something even bigger that supports it. And part of that was us going to EXP as opposed to a different brokerage, because we were at Remax, then Keller Williams, and now at EXP, because I wanted people to create their own team within our same organization and be able to have a higher net. And for me, not to lose that affiliation, because most people think, well, I've got to leave Amanda, so I got to go over here. I got to go over to XYZ and start something new. And I didn't want that to take place anymore, as long as we were still in business alignment.
Do you think that people who you've trained in your business, if and when they do leave, and I want to talk to you about, I have an analogy called the baby birds and the hawks.
Okay.
And so I'll draw that line for you here in just a second. But my question to you is, when somebody leaves your team, have you seen them really ever be more successful?
Gosh, that's a challenging question, because if they're more successful, that means I was a great leader, perhaps. If they're less successful, then maybe I didn't train them the right way, right? So there's variations to that answer. I would say, for the most part, volume in business, they do the most with us. I mean, they go and launch on their own. They may or may not do as much. But I will tell you this, what's really fun for me, it hurts a little bit too, is they never did it when they were with me. And then it's like they remember everything. And now they're doing everything I taught them, which I actually enjoy to some level, because I'm like, hey, yeah, wish you were doing it here under this umbrella, but I'm happy you're doing it now, right? Like I'm always an abundance, not a scarcity guy. Like I actually love it when I'm like, hey, I taught them this. I'm so happy they're finally implementing it. And it's funny you said the hawk. I've learned from a guy years ago. He said, are your agents jungle animals or farm animals?
Well, baby birds are hawks. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, farm animals, right? They're waiting on the leads, they're waiting on that. I personally call it junior agent to senior agent. So from day one, when I hire somebody, I was like, I want you to graduate, Amanda, to be a senior agent. Well, what's that? A senior agent is the one that's doing the majority of their own business. We teach you how to cultivate it. We pay to market it. And you're doing the majority of your own business, not Nellis Group business. If you need Nellis Group business to survive and to have success, great. But that is really for our junior agent. So we have the mindset from day one when we hire agents now that I'm going to grow you to a senior agent as fast as you want to be there. And my goal is that the majority of business is all coming from you. So much so that we've staggered compensation to the agent for them to benefit the more business they create themselves. And that's been a big shift for us over the last 5 to 7 years of really honoring that. And that's going to help with our longevity of the agent as well.
I see this set up basically in 3 sections of the business. So follow my little drawing here in your mind. On the right-hand side, you have, on this graph that you could lay out, on the right-hand side, you have servicing the business. In the middle, you have operating a business. And on the left-hand side, you have generating the business, or lead gen. So generating the lead, operating the business, servicing the business. And when you bring a junior agent in, this is sort of a low level thing, but the first thing you do is you teach them to show a house. And then the second thing you do is you teach them to list a house. And then the third thing you teach them to do is attend a closing. And of course, I'm generalizing, I'm overgeneralizing, but the very first thing you teach people to do is show a house, list a house, close a house. That is all part of servicing the actual business. And I think, Redfin has set up a model where their agents make roughly 35% of the transaction, 35% checks. I think servicing the business in real estate is roughly a 35% activity. Then they get these closing checks and they're like, oh shit, I made some money. What am I supposed to do with it now? And as a good mentor, coach, leader, trainer, like you are with all of these people who've come through your organization, you say to them stuff like, okay, let me show you how to pay some bills. Let me show you how to put away some money for taxes. Let me show you how to, some of the back end operation works so that now that you're making these pig checks, you can have your life set up so that you can pay your bills and pay taxes. And so you sort of start to show them the glimpses of what I call behind the curtain. And I think some team leaders do this well. They're very transparent. They open up the curtain to their team and say, look behind the curtain here, see the operation so that you can figure out how to manage your money. And then what happens is they kind of say like, okay, I paid my taxes and I have an LLC set up and I got my business going. And they say, but how am I supposed to do it again? And you say, let me show you to make you a jungle animal, which is you go and generate your own leads, market to your people so that you can retain them and generate leads, which you and I could agree, lead generation is the hardest part of the business. And that's why Zillow is now charging 40 or 45% for Zillow Flex leads. Because in fact, that 50% to generate a lead and market those people, call it 40% to generate the lead, 10% to produce the marketing it requires to get to the lead, is 50% of the business, which leaves this little 5 to 25% gap in the middle that is the operational cost of the business. So if it's 50% to generate the lead, call it 25% to operate a business and 30% to service the lead. I'm bad at math. Maybe those numbers don't add up, but something like that. What happens is over here, you have baby birds. Baby birds show houses. And in your case, they're farm animals or junior agents. And then we teach them this life cycle of the business, how to show a house, close a house, attend a closing, operate a business, prepare an LLC, pay your taxes, generate a lead, create client retention, love on your people. There's a big heart on my drawing here. And all of a sudden they get to be a hawk. And my friend James Nellis told me that sometimes they get to what one would describe as BBS.
Yes, I love it.
Talk about what BBS is and what happens when people get to BBS. And I think all of us get to BBS in our own roles. And so how do you fight against, what is BBS and how do you fight against it?
BBS, so I love it. Let me answer BBS, then I'll come back to that. So BBS is Big Britches Syndrome, right? At some point, they're getting whatever percentage and they're thinking, why am I giving so much to Amanda? Like, I know how to do all of this. Like, why do I even need this piece to the puzzle? And that, like I said, was part of our attraction to the real estate company we're at now, because they can grow, they can create whatever they want and still be aligned with us in business, which isn't typical, especially if you're an independent brokerage, right? I love how you're explaining the front of the house, the back of the house, and all of that. We created years ago, I don't even know I told you this, we created a 30-day boot camp. Here's the challenge. If I hire Amanda tomorrow, I don't know if you're any good until you've probably worked with 40 plus clients or written that many offers. And the typical agent in real estate, that would take them over a year to do. So it would take me over a year to say Amanda is competent or not. And so we created a 30-day boot camp and we force feed everybody through it so that they have to write 40 contracts with 10 fake clients. They got to do X, Y, Z, all these different things. They got to do 40 leases, like before they even jump from start. Mm-hmm. And that's been huge for us because within 30 days, we know that, hey, this is a happy marriage or this isn't. And they get a better taste for what real estate is. And it's funny because we flipped it. So we do the 30-day boot camp, but we start day one with lead generation. So all of our focus is on that because I know that if they can't generate leads, then they're going to be useless in this world.
Well, they become a baby bird. They get stuck in the nest and they're looking for worms.
Yep. We give them leads right away, but then we also train them how to develop their own SOI, how to lead generate, which frankly, that's what most brokerages don't train, right? Because they know, here's the challenge. Most brokerages know I'm going to hire Amanda because I'm going to have a 2-year cycle with her. We're going to sell all of her friends and family. We're going to do between 7 to 15 deals, and then she'll be out of the business. She'll be out of the business because she can't generate leads because no one's ever taught her that. So we teach that from day one. We do everything from warm leads to cold leads to hot. What does all those zones look like? How do you go deeper on it? And we really enable them to make it a lifestyle and a living out of real estate. And we broke it down to the 4 pillars, which is business, right? They need enough business to pay their bills. Then they create enough to have wealth. And so now where do they put their wealth and what does that look like? Hopefully investing in real estate, right? Then beyond the business and wealth, then it's, okay, health. Are they prioritizing their health? What are they doing for the health? Because that usually falls apart. And the last pillar is personal growth. And my experience has been, once they can pay their bills, once they can invest, once they're focused on their health, now it's like, how do I grow as a person, right? I don't just end up, so when we hire people, I don't say, I mean, I'm going to teach you how to sell 20 houses or 40 houses. That's not the goal. The goal is you're a better person as a result of being attached to our community and being aligned with us in business. And we're going to show you a path that can take you there.
So you show them the path and then they get BBS, and then what happens? How do you retain? If you're going to invest this much, what you just described, into the people that come into your fold, they either stay because they really value what you're doing for them, or they grow their own team, or they get out of the business.
Yeah. And by the way, I've even had people that have decided they don't even want to sell anymore and they just become a referral partner for us. So we give them all the options. One is stay with the Nellis Group. The other is create your own team. The other is just go solo on your own, all underneath our organization. And then outside of that, it's just become a referral agent. So we really give them all the options so that they have the freedom to come and go. When I hire somebody though, I say, Amanda, the minimum commitment we want, if you want to join the Nellis Group, is 2 years, and then after 2 years, let's reevaluate. Let's say, is it still a fit here? Should we help you grow something else? And so that's been nice and kind of freeing that we give them that freedom to say, okay, this is a 2-year run. And then now what? And then now what? And that was because I started noticing 3 to 7 is when they get that BBS. And here's the thing that's fun. Sometimes I don't want them. Sometimes I need them to self-select out, right? Kind of the poison in the barrel. There's all kinds of fun books, but I love to read. And so like Energy Bus is a great one. At some point they become an energy vampire, right? They're sucking all the fun out of the room, or they're an Eeyore, like whatever it is. I remember I visited this one company and this guy was killing me. I can't believe that this broker and team leader let this guy stay with the company, because I looked at him, I was like, this guy's an Eeyore. Like everything's wrong. No matter what you're doing, something's not fixed. Something's not working. I was like, he shouldn't be here working.
Yes.
Right. And so it's important to protect that tribe, to protect the vibe and what that can look like. And so we go really into depth on that, so much so that, one of the fun things on the lead generation thing, I'll send you a link. Maybe you could post it in this. We actually have our own energy form. So the energy form are daily activities they can do and gamify real estate to where they make so many points every day. So here's a fun conversation that I would have with you, Amanda. Like, let's say you've been with us for 30 days and you come to me and you're like, James, I just, I don't have as much business as I thought I would. I would ask one simple thing. I was like, Amanda, you know what? When we meet in person or on Zoom, why don't you bring with me all of your energy forms? Because I want to track how many days you're over 40 points. Well, guess what? You already know. You already know that if they're hitting their 40 points, they're going to have more business than they can handle.
That's right.
And the people that aren't hitting it, that's why.
What are the ways people can earn points?
It's a fun one. If you go to nellisgroup.com/energy, you can download the PDF for free. And basically, it can be everything from phone calls to text to social media to attending open houses, home inspections. I had it all originally as only lead generation. And then I had agents come back and say, James, I just spent 3 hours at a home inspection. Or I just spent 2 hours at a settlement. I want points for that. And I'm like, okay, this isn't like a regime. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's make points for that. If it takes up, and I agree with it, if it takes up time in your day that you can't do something else and it's business related, you should get points for it. So that's an example of, they get points for settlement and for other things that's technically lead generation, but they can leverage that to get a 5-star review and get other things that feed business back in.
That's right. And to be honest, if you're earning your points each day and you're doing the activities that are in compliance with the laws of attraction, people will be attracted to you. They will start to call. They will start to come around. They'll start to recognize you in real estate. And I think that's in fact the way to do it. I think that I read somewhere, the source is eluding me right now, but or evading me. The repeat and referral based business is, as you and I know, is by far and away the most stable real estate business in the market. I think that it's going to become increasingly more expensive and difficult to buy leads from homes.com, Zillow, realtor.com. It's always been expensive, but it's going to be increasingly more expensive. And I just think that that good real estate people are going to have to continue to do the belly to belly part of this business in spite of AI, in spite of technology, in spite of...
I wouldn't say despite, I would say enabled by it all, right? And so the Agent 2.0 is the one that's really using AI and using everything else to further attract more people. And to do, it's kind of like going back to when we could get emails on our phones, right? We get emails on our phone. And of course, the lie that was told was that now that you have your BlackBerry or now that you have whatever, now it's going to save those extra 2 hours at home. Well, I mean, that's a lie because we still work those extra time, but that was the thought process, right? And so by fueling the right AI, it's going to help us develop sites quicker, to put out more content faster, to cut video, to do all these different fun things you can do right away.
Yeah.
And that's just going to create more and more content. And so like you said, how do you as a business owner in a company become the guide, the entrepreneurial guide for the best results for your clients? And how do you continue to stay top of mind? Like you were mentioning, it's funny. My joke when I go and speak in real estate is if you have a heartbeat and a license, 60% of your business will be referral. Like it's not that hard, right? It's very simplistic to do that. And then we talk about turning the dial. And one of the things I train on is, okay, how do you go from 60% to 80%? And I actually never want any of our agents or anybody to be over 83%, because I still want that influx of brand new leads for that 17% so that we know that the business is growing, right? Because if you go to 100%, you're not really growing.
Well, if you're at 83%, that means you have signs in front yards, houses on websites, and so you can still get a sign call. I mean, I still to this day, people call on the sign. If you can convert them, that's not a repeat and referral lead. That's a sign call. That's a fresh lead.
Yeah, you've been around long enough to remember back in the 90s and early 2000s where they were like, okay, everyone listing gets you 5 buyers. And then that evaporated until last August. And a lot of agents were fearful of it. And the fun thing is now that we've always done, by the way, since the 90s, done buyer agency, and you got to sign, we're going to represent you.
Yeah.
But most agents didn't. And the fun thing about that is now there's so many people coming through open houses and other lead generation activities that choose not to sign. In the last 60 days, 2 of our listings, we were able to become a transactional agent for 2 cash buyers that were interested in it. And one of them got the home. Right. But track a year or 2 years ago, we weren't seeing that trend. So we'll continue to see that. And so there's just a lot of fun ways to win in real estate right now that don't require a lot of money.
You and I are both friends of NAR.
Yep.
What is your prediction with what happens to the National Association of Realtors? What do you think? How do you think this organization comes out on the backside of Spitzer DOJ and the lawsuit?
Well, on a micro scale and hyper local, I would say if you're a competent agent and you know your value and you're conveying to the consumer, you don't have to worry about anything. Start there. Secondly, control what you can control. I do think it's important that NAR at whatever level, that we have a voice, and that voice comes through RPAC, whether you like the people or not. I don't want to be political about it. I think there is a need to have NAR, and it should be supported, and that it can make a difference.
What do you think NAR's primary job is for the realtor?
Oh, really defending home ownership and everything that entails, from investors to keeping the 1031 status to the capital gain status, like all this, as we know, everything that can help create inventory and stabilize economies, because it's amazing how just one home sale, how many jobs that represents, right? You know those numbers. That has to be there. That stability has to be there in an economy-based culture, right?
Do you think NAR knows that their primary function is political advocacy at this time?
I don't think on a daily basis. I do think that they're, let's put it this. My answer to that would be this. As you know, we've helped over 4,700 homes sales, and we've been doing it for years. I have only served on one board ever. That was the YPN board back in the day, the original one.
Where we met.
I stay out of all the politics. But we still support, what it can do as a voice. So yes, I think like all organizations, you get big enough, there's going to be bad apples, but there's enough support and the desire to really help homeowners that it'll come through.
Let me float this idea past you, because I've long said in my business that the National Association of Realtors used the realtor, the agent, to carry the torch for homeownership advocacy, and that there is, so I always say the National Association of Realtors, that the realtor is doing advocacy on behalf of the homeowner, that there is no homeownership group called Homeowners Association of America. There is no independent homeownership group. So it is the realtors, in fact, who are doing all of the political advocacy on behalf of homeowners. And I'd like to go on the record being one of the first idea makers about this, and maybe NAR will listen and take my advice, which is I think that the realtor would be smart to actually bring the public alongside us at this time and create, NAR should create what I call HAA, Homeowners Association of America, where the homeowner themselves can actually be a dues paying member to the HAA. So you have NAR members, which are realtor members. They participate in the trade association. It's the trade association for the realtor. And you would have the Homeowners Association of America, HAA. And every realtor's transaction across the country. How many transactions happen in America a year? Do you know?
No, I don't know that.
It's got to be so many. I don't know, a lot. But imagine that every realtor bought a subscription for their client at the time of their real estate closing to the Homeowners Association of America, kind of like a AAA membership. So the realtor pays for their client to now become a member of HAA. Every national, state, and local association inside the three-tiered NAR downline, so National Association of Realtor, Colorado Association of Realtor, and then the Denver Association of Realtor, in my case, the three-tier organization, they're already doing political advocacy on behalf of the homeownership. That's not new for them. So they would share that advocacy with now a new homeowner member. The Department of Justice thought National Association of Realtors was big and powerful. Imagine how powerful it would be if you had 67 million owners now in a political advocacy arm pulling in the same direction as the realtors. And I think NAR has to go grab this opportunity and create the HAA, the Homeowners Association of America, which is a public arm of the National Association of America. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, that's fun. Are you spearheading it? Do you already have it? Yeah. I mean, anytime.
No, I just have an idea, which is I'm only good for being an idea man around here.
Well, yeah, it's always fun to have, like the book Rocket Fuel. It's always fun to have somebody else integrating it, right? Be the visionary, not the integrator. Anything that can be consumer facing where they feel that they have a voice or a say is always going to win, no matter what industry. So yeah, I'm all for that. That could be a fun scenario, or at a minimum, finding a way. Here's what's crazy. If you look at the lawsuit and you look at what happened, take away the politics, take away the fact that NAR didn't do what they should have, all these different things.
Yeah.
What's amazing is it actually did not save the consumer any money. And I don't think that's getting out enough. It's actually costing the consumer more money, especially in markets that are not inventory deprived anymore, where there's so many on the market. Like, I know that sellers are now paying 1% to 3% more than they ever did before. It's crazy.
Yes, that's because the Spitzer lawsuit came about when you could fog a mirror and sell a house. And those days are long gone. And now all of a sudden we're back to having to really work at selling a house. And so any seller's market is going to make it seem like you can save money, and any buyer's market is going to make it seem like it's going to cost more.
So that's just like, as we know, we've seen the different cycles in the seasons, and that's the commission compression, right? And like you said, if you could put up a sign and sell it no matter what, it doesn't matter. I like to tell my clients all the time that anybody could sell their home. They could sell their own home. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, do they get a high enough premium that makes sense? And what's amazing is there's been multiple times where we've sold properties, paid out full commissions, what we considered that to be, and still netted the seller more money than their pocket buyer that they found. It's just crazy. And most people don't understand that, but it's fun when we're able to put them up as a mirror and say, okay, here's what you have. Here's what we got you on the open market, which, by the way, this is a fun springboard. I don't think we thought about this, where this goes into, I don't like the political part of the conversation, but I love where, I don't know if we can name names, but let's just name names, like where Compass is coming out and saying, oh, it's better to sell it privately. Well, no, it's never been better for the consumer. It's better for a pocketbook, for a brokerage, where, like you said, most brokers don't make any money. So they have to show enough money because they're publicly traded. Well, how do you do that? Well, you double end everything. You keep it all in-house.
But Robert Refkin would tell you that he's not doing this to double in the deals. He's doing this to test pricing and condition in-house. Now, I think that actually what he's trying to do is to seize back control. Because what I think has happened is that, and I've talked on this podcast before about what I call the ants. The ants are the data collectors. They're the people that go into the house and take the notes and put them into the magic listing system. And what I think Refkin is trying to do is to pull back control of the data, because syndication has taken the data out of Amanda's and James's team's hands and given it straight over to Zillow. And Refkin is saying, no, my agents aren't going to be the ants on the ground anymore that give you information syndicated through the MLS for free anymore, because we broke apart NAR, we broke apart the decoupled the MLSs, we decoupled the National Association of Realtors and the brokerages. So now everybody's all decoupled. And if my agents are going to go into the house, collect the data, become the ant on the ground, I'm not giving Zillow the information for free anymore. So I think part of what he's trying to do is actually just reclaim some of what Zillow came for us for 20 years ago. And I got to give him credit for that. I don't know how this whole thing shakes out. And I know RE/MAX and EXP are probably staying out of it. I know for sure RE/MAX is staying out of it. So what do you think about what Refkin's doing in the private exclusive?
I see that point. That's the only thing that I could give some validity to. And as you know, if you go back in time, NAR gave, when they gave it away to realtor.com, they gave away the whole syndication thing. I mean, I agree with you. The ants marching, like we've just continued to march and continue to give away money, right? Off of our own proprietary listings, which is insane. But you also have to look at it from consumer facing. So like it or not, Zillow and some of the other ones do get the most eyeballs. And if that's the case, and that can help your seller sell for the most amount of money,
you got to be there. But here's the deal. Zillow is actually I believe Zillow is trying to cut the agent out too. I believe Zillow's intent is to go directly to the consumer and have them spruce up their own listing on their website. And all of this isn't in the name of marketing. It isn't in the name of real estate. It isn't in the name of any of that. It is all in the name of data and technology. They want the data. So they're going to use the consumers and the real estate agents to get the data. And I say they, I mean bigger powers that be inside our industry, whether that be Zillow, Homes.com, Compass, private equity. They're gunning for the data.
Yeah. Well, and look at what all of them have done. And this is an interesting conversation. And I don't know what you've done with your other guests, but so Zillow buying Showing Time, Loop, like all that for data, right? And then you look at what the other ones are doing. So now mortgage lenders, Rocket, others are now going into the real estate space. And so everyone's trying to create that one-stop shop, that natural honeypot where all leads come in, right? So are they coming in to get approved, or are they coming in to see homes? Well, what if we catch them at both? And like you said, of course, with technology, it's funny to me, like if you think back to Expedia, how it basically overnight got rid of travel agents from point A to point B, right? There's travel agents if you want to go spend $15,000 and go somewhere exotic, blah, blah, blah. Although now some people would say, put it in ChatGPT and they design your entire thing.
Yeah.
Separate conversation. But what's fun is when you look at that and say, okay, well, what exists now? What's going to exist in the future? But like going back to Expedia, they got rid of the travel agent. They weren't able to do that for real estate because this isn't a $500 to $5,000 investment. Like this is usually someone's biggest investment they'll ever make. There's so much emotion involved. And so like you said, I think it's
frequent, it's expensive, it's unique.
Yeah. You got to leverage AI, you got to leverage technology as a real estate agent and company to provide not only the best service, but give the best options to your client. And so I don't see that going away. I thought years ago we would see but we would see a commission compression. We haven't seen that either, even with the changes in lawsuit. But I agree with you that it depends on the cycle and the inventory, right? Supply and demand as well. And so it's an interesting thing. You know, I look at it and say, well, I'm a third generation. Do I see a fourth generation happening? I would say yes. Real estate's here. Could it take different forms? Sure, it could. I mean, I remember back in the day when my mother had She had like 10 different facsimile machines. Now, some people listening to this don't even know what that is, but she had 10 different fax machines she would give to her active sellers.
We would loan them out to our clients. We did this too.
Yeah.
We loaned the fax machine to our clients so I could reach them at home at night. I know.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I just faxed you the offer, right? How amazing was that? And then effects came out. So I love leveraging technology where we can get away, right? We can have a vacation and still work a little bit and still have fun. That's been good. What I know it's 1:42. What did we not cover that you know we
We're
want
going to talk about the honeybee, which we may have so much here, we may have to break it apart into two episodes. But one of the things I did want to talk to you about is how you see, and this maybe links back to the first part of our conversation, so we could maybe slice out some of the NAR conversation differently, but the way that team structures, where do you really see team structure going? How do you see the business really evolving for teams? I'm curious. Do you think it becomes, like I always say, there's the Keller Williams team, which is like queen bees at the top, and they have all these honeybees. And that has worked for a long time, right? In my market, there was a woman here who was a queen bee. She didn't even put her team's picture on. Like, it was like, forget it. There's too many people. It's too much of a revolving door in and out, that she didn't even put her team on the picture anymore. It was just her and her husband and her kid or whatever. And there were 20 or something people work. But I think a lot of those people are now gone. And I think she's running a really compact team now. Where do you see the business going?
And I should have asked this. Who's our audience? Who are we talking to right now?
I don't even know. Real estate agents, people interested in real estate, entrepreneurs, anybody who will listen to us talk right now. You know, I'm just a little kitten in the podcast world.
I love it. So, well, as you know, because that's really important to know who we're talking to. So let me give you 2 examples. Let's just pretend you can create anything that you want today. And it can be whatever size you want. And you're looking at what's going to not only going to be fun, but also net me the most money. So I would come back to and say, Amanda, what are you passionate about? If you're passionate about real estate and doing listings, there's a sweet spot that we'll talk about. If you're passionate about leadership and management, there's a different sweet spot, right? And I would break those into 2 camps. So if it's purely about net income and living your best life, then that would be, you're the primary agent. You have 2 licensed assistants and maybe 1 extra agent. And that's it. There's only 4 of you.
And I call it the diamond. Primary agent, 2 buyer's agents, 1 assistant creates a diamond like this.
I wouldn't even have 2 buyer agents, because if you have licensed assistants, you're paying them a very minimal salary and you give them a kick or a bump on it. That's going to be your sweetest spot. I know agents that are averaging over 60% net profit.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
From that perspective.
Right.
Then too many people get caught in the middle, right? They have a lot of staff. They only have so many agents, and they see their net profit plummet. And then you got to jump all the way over to, okay, I have a staff of say 4 to 6, and we can talk about it later, but we have a staff of 4 to 6 plus probably 10 plus agents. And then you are deciding, am I going to manage or am I going to sell? Or what am I going to do?
Triangle, right? You got a lot of people at the bottom.
Yep. And you're going to have some of that 3 to 7 year turnover, and that's okay. And we love the fresh blood. You know, one of the things I was taught early in my career is always hire talent and always look for talent. And no matter how good you're in, it's just, I hate to say it this way, but to not be beholden to any talent. So anytime I'm like, oh, I'm so afraid I'm going to lose Amanda. Well, I've already lost her there, right? And so I like the analogy of, if you have your hand open and you pour water in it and you go to close it, you lose all the water. If you have an open hand every time, that's why I believe in the 2 years commitment. And then each year or following, we just keep coming back and saying, Amanda, is it a still fit? Are you finding growth? Are you finding this? And that's why we've done for years, Amanda, we do a book club, and it's really fun. Every month we read a new book, and it's business or life. This topical right now we're doing the Let Them theory with Mel Robbins. You've probably heard of that. That's our life book. You know, the month before was Full Fee Agent with Chris Voss, which is a great book. And so we're constantly going back and forth, because when we hire somebody, we tell them, you know, I mean, anyone can teach you to sell a house. We're going to teach you how to not only lead generate, sell homes, but also become a better person.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. What's next for you?
Well, we're in growth mode right now. Funny enough, we need probably at least another 5 agents. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the DMV and you want to join a fantastic company, we'd love to have you. How's that for a sales pitch?
All right.
We actually have insulation layers within my company. I do have staffing. And so I already have a sales director who oversees the 101 minutia. Usually if I'm getting called in, it's a fire drill or it's a legacy client that knew my parents who I need to be involved with. And so my focus is just equipping, training, and lead generation. I mean, it's kind of the fun part about it, you know. Actually, right now, my focus, it's funny. We've been watching AI, we've been watching how people source reviews and source top agents. And I met with an agent in my market who has over 1,900 five-star reviews on Google. And he's like, James, when we went past 1,000, we saw our lead gen go through the roof organically. And so funny enough, right now, my passion is we're at, when did I look this morning? We went from 270, we're at 289, and we want to get to 500 before September 30th. So do you even know, can I put you on the spot, Amanda? How many five-star reviews do you have right now? Do you know that answer?
Yeah, I mean, on Zillow, I have something like 189, and I've not paid Zillow a dime in my career.
Oh, so Google, sorry.
Yeah, and then my Google reviews, we started building our Google reviews pretty handsomely like 2 or 3 years ago. And so I'm guessing now there's probably a couple hundred in there.
And by the way, and this isn't a Zillow hate session, but one year Zillow took 150 five-star reviews away from my account.
Why?
That was the year that I said, okay, forget it. We are now going to only focus on
Zillow. We're leaving Zillow reviews and going to Google. Well, that was what I had worried about, was that Zillow could strip those away from their site at any time with no consequence. Fortunately, they haven't done that. I did recently show up to a Gen Z listing, young couple, real young couple. And I, at the kitchen table, as I often say to him, I said, how did you come to call me? And he said, well, I asked ChatGPT and I looked at your Zillow reviews. And so I called in you and one other broker. And I said, are you interviewing a Compass agent? He said, I am. And I said, well, I have some tips for you.
ChatGPT right now, they pull Fast Expert, Zillow, and Google sometimes. There's like 4 places they pull from right now.
Yeah. Well, it's good. So it's getting me to the top of the pile somewhere there, and I appreciate that. And so far, we're just going to continue to ride the wave of whatever this market throws at us. I mean, real estate's a lifestyle. It's not a job. And so we're going to just keep living our best lives over here. I really actually appreciate how you invest in people and how you really spent your career in service to the folks that you train. And, you were successful young in business, which is how you and I met at the NAR 30 Under 30. You and I were one of the 8 original board members for the National Association of Realtors Young Professionals Network, which was now a huge organization. So I think that's pretty cool. It just also shows how old we are. But you were late to success in your personal life because you were very successful in business early. And I understand you're a new dad. So
I am. Late, I would like to say perfect timing. All good things come to those that wait. And it's funny, I am a better father and husband in my 40s than I ever would have been in my 30s. So it's funny, while we're doing this podcast, I'm actually on a telecast right now to watch the baby. So it's funny you bring that up just to make sure everything's good to go. You know, what do they call it? Helicopter dad. I'm not that bad. But yeah, he was born in April. He's 3 months old now. So very thankful and healthy, and figuring out that it is funny. It's shown me to have better grace with my agents and staff and clients with their little kids.
Yep.
I probably didn't have as much patience as I should have. Just knowing the context for that now.
Yeah, well, I actually think parenting is the most important job we are put here to do. And I'm actually very grateful that you get the honor of being a parent. It will, in fact, be your favorite life's work, I suspect, as it is for most people who come to be parents. And so anyway, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with me. I think we could do this for hours, but for now, we'll leave it here. And I'm going to have you back and we can talk about whatever's on the docket the next time.
Yeah.
Just appreciate your friendship, and anything you want to say in closing, it's all yours.
Yeah. Let me think of closing comments is always exciting. You are in hiring mode and trying to figure out what I have to hire. If you have no staff, hire an executive admin who's licensed, who can help show for you when you go away, right? And help convert clients. If you already have your base structure, I would highly recommend getting a videographer who's either on retainer or full-time. We've had videographers for decades now. Since 2007, we've had one on payroll. And I mentioned that because it's so funny you were mentioning, because one of the things we do now, and this is a soft spot for me, I believe in video legacy. And so we just had a client, unfortunately, that passed away last week. She's in hospice. So I used my videographer's time and we went and did a video family legacy for the family. This was like 2 years ago. They completely forgot about it because we just had it on ice until we needed it. And I spoke with the woman this morning and I just sent her over the raw footage because some of it they'll use for the memorial service. And she just responded, James, you have no idea what a gift this is.
Wow.
I couldn't find the last voicemail from my mother and now I get to see her and hear her.
Oh, yeah. So good.
And so leverage whatever you have in real estate, leverage that in the private world as well. And you probably already have tools and talents and resources that you can use to better the community and your clients and use that to invest in them. And you'll always see a return.
I love it. James Nellis, the Nellis Group in the DMV. Thanks for coming today.
Love it. Thank you.